You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 218, Tips for Finding Happiness After a Breakup During the Holiday Season. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Welcome, Braveheart. I'm so excited you're here to listen to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast. This is the Netflix of breakups, short, powerful, and actionable episodes that help you along your breakup journey. If you're interested in a more hands-on approach, I'd love to invite you to check out our free on-demand video training called How to Fast Forward Getting Over Your Ex Without Wasting Months or Years Feeling Jealous, Angry, or Unlovable. You'll learn how to stop letting your ex live rent-free in your mind, even if you want to get back together later, how to absolutely be sure that your life will be better than the one that you had with your ex post-breakup without it taking time, and lastly, the secret to feeling completely neutral about your ex without having to go no contact. Grab it for free at breakupcoachdorothy.com. Let's begin the episode. Hello, my beautiful Bravehearts. I had a really hard time naming this podcast episode because the most simple naming convention, right, would be like breakup holiday prep or coping strategies for a breakup during the holidays. But to me, it has so much more to do with a complete 180 transformation in regards to your breakup during the holiday season. I don't want you to just get through it or cope with it or survive the holiday season. I want you to consider that you could actually enjoy the holiday season. You could actually enjoy and have fun this Christmas and this New Year's, which I realize can feel almost impossible for some of you listening today, but I want you to just stay open and consider that there is another option. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Inside of the Get Over Your Ex program, we did an entire holiday prep workshop last week, and it really was powerful to everyone. Everyone kept saying, this is going to be completely different for me now. I'm so glad that I, attended this workshop. It was super beneficial. So I thought, why not share it with everyone here on the podcast? Obviously, I won't be workshopping it with you here today, but you will have all of the information to be able to workshop it either while you listen to this podcast, you can pause and start it, or you can go through it afterwards. But we're also doing a really fun 14 days of braveness within the Get Over Your Ex program. It has fun giveaways and activities. It's been an absolute blast, and all of the Braveheart alumni have been participating too. So much fun holiday stuff going on. All right. Are you ready? I'm so excited to talk about this topic. It's going to change the entire dynamic of your holiday season starting today, starting right now. Now, in the past couple of years, I want to just kind of set the stage here and tell you a broader concept or show you and talk to you about through the story of a broader concept. In the past couple of years, I've noticed that we have preconceived ideas about how some things in life are quote unquote supposed to go. And one area of that is breakups, right? We have this idea that they're supposed to be painful, they're supposed to be difficult and scary and earth-shattering, and there is validity to that. However, that's not actually everyone's experience. And what I find fascinating is that when people don't have that experience, they think something's wrong with them. Like if they actually feel relieved or calm or giddy or excited, they're almost like, ooh, something's wrong with this. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should actually be feeling worse than I am. And it's hard for them in that way. And then, of course, some of you have the opposite experience like me, where the breakup is actually completely debilitating. Your whole world is shattered and you don't know what to think or believe anymore. And all of that is valid, but what I want us to realize is that for some reason, as humans, we all have these preconceived ideas for different areas. It's not just breakups. And one of those first experiences of this that really was eye-opening to me was actually my first 5-day fast. In 2020, I went to Bali and randomly was a part of this fasting retreat. And when someone told me I was going to not be eating any food for 5 days, that all I'd be having is green juice in the morning and in the evening, I was like, wow, that's going to be terrible. I won't be able to function by the end of this. And I really had a preconceived idea that it was going to be miserable. And maybe some of you listening right now would relate to that, and some of you might not. But the crazy eye-opening thing that happened was that the people around me, the other people in this retreat doing this fast, were having a magical, amazing experience. They were feeling good. Their bodies were energized and were amazing, and they were having insightful clarity about their life. They were feeling good. They could still do the activities, and it was just mind-blowing to me to see their experience. And that was the first time I really, really started realizing, like, wow, these preconceived ideas about how things should be are all over the place in life. It's not just breakups. And by 2020, I was already into thought work. I already started my business. So that was the moment that I realized I still had a lot I didn't know. And even though breakups had this tone or preconceived idea that they were like inherently bad, it was really just conditioning from the unconscious collective, aka like thoughts other people believed that got other people believing them, and so on and so forth. It strengthened that belief that breakups were bad. Now, this is why I do what I do. This is the whole point of Breakup Coach Dorothy, the Get Over Your Ex podcast and program, is to help everyone relearn how to take something you inherently see as bad and find neutrality so that you get to choose the experience from then on out. And you get to do what you want. And that is so cool. And we do that within the heartbreak space because there is a preconceived idea as to how this should go. And what if that's not necessarily the case? So that's a bigger, broader concept. What does that have to do with finding happiness during the holidays? And just because you're going through a breakup, it doesn't mean you have to have a miserable experience during the holidays. And some of you are like, duh, I already knew that. And some of you might be like, what? I just really can't even see anything else. And both of you are welcome here today, and I want you to just consider what I have to say next. So just like I thought being in a 5-day fast was going to be a miserable experience, which, by the way, I created a miserable experience by day 4 and 5 because I had this conditioning of it's going to be terrible. I thought I might die. I was so sick. But notice how I thought it was going to be miserable, and so therefore I created that experience. But once I saw what else was on the menu, like what were the other options available from my peers, ever since then, my fasting experiences have been magical and amazing and eye-opening and connecting, and I'm on a high every time I do these fasts now. But only because my eyes were open to how different that experience could be if I was open to it. If the people I was in the retreat with were able to enjoy this, why couldn't I? And so today I want to show you that there are other menu items. You're at a restaurant called Breakup During the Holiday, and they have a lot on the menu. They don't just have one item called misery. They have holly jolly pancakes. They've got Christmas miracle omelets. They've got revenge ravioli. I could go on. But you get the idea, right? You may be going into this restaurant thinking there's only one menu item to choose from. By accident, you'll be living up to that menu item. And another example of this, for those of you who haven't listened to all of the episodes of the podcast, last year around November of 2022, I went through a 13-week miscarriage. And there have been a lot of preconceived ideas swirling around miscarriages that I don't actually subscribe to. But I wasn't, open to that. I didn't know anything about that realm until I experienced miscarriage. And the first one was, I don't want to talk about it. Many people approaching me were thinking, I don't want to talk about it. So they wouldn't bring it up, or they'd say, I know you don't want to talk about this. When in reality, it was all I wanted to talk about. And another more recent one was my friend, like as my friends are getting pregnant over this last year, they almost like tiptoe around me thinking I'd be upset. And what's weird about that is when they approach me with that demeanor and with that thinking that I'll be upset, it actually creates a container and environment to almost like positive, like, how do I say this? Almost influence my response to be upsetting because they're expecting it. And it's so weird. I have to consciously choose different, realizing like those are old stories, and I have to rearrange the environment and remember like, nope, this isn't about me. This is something to be celebrated. And the more my manifestations are around me, the closer I am to my manifestations. So of course, people around me are having babies. That means I'm going to have a baby soon too. And I get to be in other people's manifestations of this, and that can actually bring me joy because I can know if this is close to them, it's that close to me. And so lastly, the last preconceived idea that I want to talk about here is that a lot in the miscarriage realm is about you'll never get over this. This is something you'll never actually get over. And I can totally see how that's helpful to some people, but it is so unhelpful to me. For me, I am not believing that for a second. I will absolutely get over my miscarriage. I feel really calm and comfortable and quote unquote over it now. But I know that my lost baby is always with me and will always be with me. But I know I'm stronger because of everything that happened. And I will not subscribe to an idea that we can never get over something. I'll move through it just like I did with my ex and continue to build a bigger and better life and bring my spirit baby Marilyn with me, period. So just remember that just because there's a big collection of people out there that might believe something, it doesn't mean that you have to. That's your choice. So even if people approach you thinking like, you're sad and miserable and it's not good, notice how that almost elicits that response from you and question whether or not you want to be in that. Sometimes you are and you need to be authentic. So allow yourself to be authentically in that, but sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're actually having a good day and someone approaches you like that and all of a sudden you subscribe to it like an old story. So here's how we're going to tangibly apply what I'm talking about to the holiday season. The first thing is we've got to spend less time describing your past and more time making decisions that create the future you actually desire. I'm going to say that again. Spend less time describing your past and more time making decisions that create the future you desire. When I asked Bravehearts what they were struggling with most this time of year in their breakup, a lot came up. And a lot of it was around memories of the past and fake made-up projections of how this year wouldn't be like the past. And if it wouldn't be like the past, it was actually going to be worse. And they said this like the news to me. They said it very factually, but those were all made up. We don't know what the future holds. Now, this is a problem because in my eyes, we have two options. We've got option A, let the present moment circumstances determine how we feel and the experience we have. Or we've got option B, which is embrace the present moment circumstances as if it was a gift that was specifically curated for you. And the problem that I see my Bravehearts in is, one, you're surrounded by people with a common preconceived idea or notion that may not be supportive. And two, you're living in the past or worrying about the future rather than being in the present moment as if it was specifically curated for you by God or the universe. So that leads you to spending the majority of your time right now ruminating and reminiscing about what was when you had your ex in your life, worrying about how it won't be that way this year, and then preparing and trying to prevent what we don't want. So how do we solve for this? The first and most important thing is what we talked about almost this whole episode so far is be aware that there is another option. Be aware that you and potentially the people around you expect you to act or show up in a certain way. And you may just accidentally be falling into these old stories and patterns that you might not even believe anymore. You may believe them, and that's fine, but you may not actually believe them anymore, and you just accidentally slip into them. Okay? But it's not too late if you've done that. You can realize today and right now that you're going to do it differently, that you are going to choose something else on the menu. And be aware that even with your present moment circumstances, you can feel differently. You can show up differently and have a completely different experience without changing any of the facts of what's going on in your life. Secondly, we must drop into the present moment as if it was gifted to us. Like literally, this present moment is a present that was crafted for you by God or by the universe. And when I say this present moment, I'm saying where you are right now in this mini moment. Maybe you're driving to work listening to the podcast. Maybe you're walking or biking. Maybe you're sitting in the park overlooking Lake Michigan on a boat. This moment is not anyone else's moment. It is yours and yours only. I'm not talking about your past, which of course that was created for you as well, but I'm talking about like being hypersensitive in this present moment and asking yourself 3 questions. 1, how is this present moment for me? The present circumstances that I am living, how are they actually for me? 2, if I know that this was the moment I was supposed to be having all along, how might I feel and why? And 3, what is great about my present circumstances? And I recently had a moment like this where I realized I was having a moment I've waited for a long, long time. And it started last year. Last year, I was sitting in a construction site because the house I was living in was getting remodeled. I was day 1 out of emergency surgery due to the complications of my miscarriage. My fiance and I at the time were not well, and I felt very, very alone. That was not the Christmas experience I was planning. I was planning on being pregnant, having all these ideas about what I would do pregnant and for Christmas and all of this stuff. But I was learning a whole new level of loss, grief, and trauma. It's a layer of those 3 things that I had never experienced before. And it was a very humbling moment, a painful moment. And at the same time, the more present I was, the more calm and at peace it was. And now this year, I've created my marshmallow vibe at home with a fireplace, my marshmallow couch. I was having tea with my baby girl Great Dane Tinkerbell the other morning, and I realized I was having that moment. This moment that I wanted so badly last year was perfectly curated for me now. And it looks a lot different this year, but both of those moments were perfect. Both were needed. And honestly, I am in deep gratitude for this moment, this year's moment, in a way I'm not sure I'd be if I didn't have the moment I had last year. And my connection to things in my life are so much deeper than they've ever been. It's been a year of really learning how to love what is actually in my life rather than worrying about what isn't in my life. And with that being said, the 3rd step to all of this is then bringing intentionality to your future and making decisions and expecting the ideal. Okay? What do I want? What do I want right now? What do I want in my future? How do I want to feel and why? What kind of experience do I desire to have? What do I want to be now and in my future? You guys tell me a lot of what you don't want. But what do you want, and are you giving equal airtime? If anything is available on the menu of life, what is it that I want to create for myself this holiday season? What would be ideal, and how can I create that now? I've been doing this in a wide variety of ways this year around being a mom. When I was pregnant, I saw many future visions, right? I saw her birthday parties, our first Christmas together, beautiful mornings together. And just like I teach you on the podcast, just because your ex isn't in your life anymore doesn't mean the future you wanted isn't available. So I've created these experiences regardless of whether or not baby Marilyn is in my life. I had a huge birthday party for my dog's 2nd birthday. I did it up just like I would have for baby Marilyn. I will have a stocking at Christmas and do my entire Christmas the same way I would have if baby Marilyn was here. I also started volunteering in ways where I get to actually help children and surround myself with kids to gain knowledge, but also experiences of being with a child regardless of whether or not baby Marilyn is physically here with me. And I'm creating these experiences regardless of who's in my life or not in my life, just like you can, regardless of what your ex is doing. So spend at least equal airtime on what you do want rather than worrying about and preventing what you don't want. All right, my brave hearts, let's kind of sum up those 3 steps, right? You can have an amazing holiday year this year, right now. My brave hearts have crafted amazing holiday plans that have them feeling happy, at peace, and even excited. So I know that you can do this too. And you're going to do that through 1, being aware there are other options than the preconceived idea of misery. 2, being present and realizing this moment was specially curated and crafted for you. And 3, decide on your future and give equal airtime to what you do want. All right. Thanks for tuning into today's episode, my friends. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast for more episodes like this. And if you have found any of our episodes helpful, we would love a 5-star rating on the Spotify or Apple Podcast app to help other heartbroken humans turn their pain into power and their heartbreak into happy. I love you all so, so much, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you'd like to learn how to fast forward getting over your ex without spending months or years feeling angry, jealous, or unlovable, I would love to personally invite you to participate in our free on-demand video training, where we share 3 mind-blowing moments that will forever change your experience with your breakup or divorce. Come check it out at breakupcoachdorothy.com.